a later date. Okay, last week we covered the dashboard. We had quite a good response from that, so appreciate everybody that did the survey. So hopefully now your dashboard should be looking more like this, where we've got meaningful information. If you haven't got that, come back to us. I probably did 10 to 15 people and help them set up their dashboard because that's important and we want you really using that properly. Okay, when I cover the workshops, I always do a little section on the backups. I think all of us are not particularly great at making backups. It is really, really important. We do set your systems up so that it does something called data safe. That means it sends an automated backup to the cloud, and it will also put that backup onto the hard disk as well. But we also want you to make manual backups. And the reason for that is if you have a Windows update, that can sometimes have an influence on the automated backup. Or if you, let's say you load or you have an updated antivirus, that again can block it. So we do a check. Emma's gone through nearly 1,000 databases checking it. But obviously, if you have another backup, it's just another element of security. So to do that, go to File, select Backup Database, and you'll then see you have two options. It'll automatically pick the USB drive if you have a USB memory stick inserted on the computer. That would be my preference. And what you should really do is have two memory sticks, and just what I do is at the end of the month, just make a backup onto it and take that home. And then bring the one from home back up again, and the next month put it onto there. That means the worst case scenario is that your data could only ever be 4 weeks out of date. And hopefully we've got backups on the hard disk as well. So that's our preference, to do it on a memory stick. But I'll just show you quickly how I can make it onto the hard disk. Select the file where you want it to go. So I just said, okay, make the backup onto the desktop. Go to next, and away it goes, and that will be the data secure. You can then email it to yourself or whatever. Never restore a backup without speaking to us first, because we shouldn't have the situation where you actually need to do that. Okay, it's possible it can happen, but you shouldn't need to do it. You'll then be able to see, click Finish, and that's it. So that's a backup made. So that's File and Backup Database. Choose your memory stick drive. You'll see it there, or put it onto the hard disk into a particular folder. Okay, so backups, fairly straightforward. Any problems, phone the help desk. We'll talk you through it. Data entry, super important. Last week we covered general settings. That's the way that you can configure your system and customize it so you're entering the information that you want. Daily events, I'll just quickly show you that once more. Settings, and you'll see then you have the tabs here. Record comments for reproduction data, I would put that in. If you want to break down a difference between a natural and managed heat, you can do that. Make sure that your default service is correct, default service operator is correct. Things like PDs, how many days, we've got 42 set here, but you can change that. Similarly for drying off and for carving. So those settings are important. Okay, let's do the first one then. So I'm just going to put a heat in. So Cal 1074, I hit enter. We can see what's happened to the cow to date. I can see how many days that she's actually been open. And I hit the enter key. I select in heat. So the first thing now is the date. If you use the minus key on your keyboard, you'll see the date goes backwards. If I hit the plus key, we move it forward. I hit enter here. Now, because on that tab in settings, I selected register estrus signs, I can then enter the type of heat. So I saw the cow bulling. If you don't want to do that, if you don't need that, then turn that off in settings, because you don't need it. And I'm just going to put a comment in. I always like to have a comment there. And we're going to say it was a type a strong heat. Okay. So first one done. Now you'll notice there's a green tick there. A green tick is good. That means it's stored in the database. Okay, next one, 1135. Okay. Now, if you have 4 or 5 cows bulling, all the same heat, what you can do is just hit the R key, and the R just stands for repeat. And you'll see that line now has been created. If you want to do it for batch entry, you can do that as well. So we go to heat, and then I can select the cows that I saw bulling that day. So These cows were bulling. Go to next. Type of heat. Do I have a comment? Finish. And that's it done. So you can do it individually. You can put the number in, hit the R key, that will repeat the line, or you can do it via batch entry. So that's my first one, that's on heats. Now we're going to inseminate some cows. So I go to 3185. Okay, now you'll see when I hit the enter key, it will come up and the program is intuitive. It looks and says, well, okay, what I would expect to happen, the next event, the most likely event, based on a current cow calendar is a service. If I just hit escape now, what you can do is you can speed it up by just hitting S for service. So you don't need to hit the enter and then select it, because that's an extra keystroke. So I just put S in there and away we go. Minus, take the day as yesterday, and then just follow it through. So who was the bull that we used? Was it sexed? No. Did he use a whole straw? And because I selected John McPhee as the default operator in settings, I can take that one, or I could pick somebody else if I wanted. So in this case, we're going to say that it was Peter. Now I go to reason, type of heat. We saw a bulling. So that's important later on if we want to break down the difference between a natural heat and a managed heat. And in this case, I don't have a comment. So that's the first cow inseminated. Then I go to 3003. I use the same bull. So again, I can just hit the R key. And away it goes, and that's the line completed. So after repeats, that can really speed things up. I just want to show you something now. If you've made a mistake, so this is now in the database. We know that's stored because we have the tick. If I right-click and then left-click delete line, that will then remove that. So that service now, that's gone. So you can change things as you're going along, okay? If I just put another one in, 3010, I get to this point and then, wrong cow. Top left-hand side, you have the escape key, hit that, and that will remove it. And generally, you can escape out of most of it, but once you've got the green tick, then you need to highlight that. So again, I'll just show you, I won't actually do it, but highlight, right-click, then you have the option keys. What we'll do first, again, I'll show you how to do it individually, then I'll show you it as a batch entry. So 3560, hit the P key, that takes pregnancy status up straight away. Enter, she's in calf. I don't have a comment on this one, done. Next one, 3555, R key to repeat, she's done, she's pregnant. But I think for PDs, most people would tend to use the batch entry. So these are all the different events you can do using batch entry, and we're going to select declare pregnant. Okay, so what you then have now is which animals you want to come up on the list. This person, this database, they actually PD at 42 days. So we go to the next screen. So these are the cows that are due to be PD'd. Reverse selection, that just pops all of them as having been PD'd. But I'd rather you probably didn't use that because not all of the cows obviously are going to be in calf. So what you can do is just select the ones you want. However, maybe you PD'd, okay, you pulled one cow out and she was PD'd early. So we want to find that cow. So if I look for cow number 159, I can't find her, which is great. So I then add the animal. Try again, 169. There she is. So she's been inseminated 40 days. So the reason she wasn't on the list was purely because we said all animals after 42 days. But if you want to bring in an animal earlier, then you can do that just by using the tick box. So I have 3 cows now, basically, that we've PD'd. I can go to next. And these cows, I'm going to say they were all in calf. And it was, whoever Bob did that, he did the PDs. I go to finish. It's giving me a warning there. This animal's been inseminated too recently. That's really important because we're always trying to validate data. But this cow, we actually brought in early. She was on day 40. I'm happy with that. I added her to the list, so that's no problem. But the program will check. We say, okay. So those are 3 cows PD'd. do you want to enter some new PD checks? Yes, I do. So I say yes. So these are the remaining cows. And these 2 cows here, okay, unfortunately, they were negative. So we say next. Did I put them onto a sync program or anything? I'm going to say no in this case, finish. That's them done. And then finally, I'm going to say 1 cow, the PD was inconclusive. So by selecting that, this will then put the cow into the vet check report, and she'll then come up for a PD later on. So we say finish, and that's my PD's done. So that, I think, is using batch entry. That's probably the quickest way that you can do your PDs. So we've covered a heat, we looked at inseminations, we've looked at PDs, a little bit about drying off. Now, generally, obviously, drying off is going to be a batch entry event. So let's go across, go to dry off. Okay, so same thing again. It brings up all the cows that are due to be dry on your action list. If you're drying cows off early, which could obviously happen at the moment, again, you'll use the plus key to add that animal to the list. You'll also see here, we're going to cover this more on treatment plans in a future webinar, but these are the cows due to be dried off. But if you look here and I select here, this will bring up the cows that had no mastitis and no high cell counts. Because in general settings that we covered last week, we can set the program up to say that if they had no high cell counts and no mastitis, maybe we used a teat sealant. And then cows that had mastitis, then maybe we use a different type of treatment. So it's just a way of speeding things up. But I think if you want to use that, and I'd recommend that you do use it, it's probably better if we log onto your PC and we help you with that. So you'll see now, if I have 3 cows there that had no problems. But these cows here, they did have cases of mastitis. But on this one, we'll just keep it nice and simple. And I'm going to say, okay, these cows, these 3 all got the same treatments. So I go across to next. Got a dry off treatment there. On this one, I'm not using a treatment plan. A treatment plan is good for drying off if maybe you do a foot trim, you put in a bolus. So there's like 2 or 3 different events. But on this one, I'm just drying the cows off. I'm just using a standard treatment. So I go to next. My treatment is dry off extra. Add a medicine. And what will then happen is I created that treatment. I can then allocate a medicine to that treatment. So the reason I'm showing you this is just that, again, we can speed up data entry. So if you have a treatment and you have a standard medicine, let us set that up for you, because it means then you won't be searching around for the medicine list. So I said that we set it up. We use 4 tubes. I go to next, finish, calculates the draw period, and that's the dry offs inserted. So it's a much quicker way than just doing them individually. So again, I would definitely use batch entry for that. Okay, calving, 969. So the program has a look, status is dry. I hit the C key, that's all I did there, goes straight over to calving. She calved yesterday, I'm using the minus key. Okay, how many calves did she have? In this case, she had 1. Was there any problems? No, there wasn't. I would record that because we can now report on that, not just in the individual animal record, but also on Report Writer. Condition score, if I want to put that in, that's again in general settings. I can set that up. And do I have a comment? Yes, it was a big calf. Okay, so I hit enter, and now we put in the details of the calf. So the calving is now stored in the database. So sex of the calf is female. Am I going to keep it? Yes, I am. I have my breed there in case I need to adjust it. Then obviously I have my ear tag. So if I put in the ear tag, if I put it in incorrectly, it will, well, to catch me out. It says, hang around, that's not a valid ear tag. So that has to be correct, which is good. So that's good. Okay, I'm going to give this animal an ID of 1004, but you can use whatever number you want. I don't have a comment on it. And that's it done. So that's the cows calved. So just quickly, for those of you that are not that, haven't been using Uniform that long, just putting that 1 line of data entry in has automatically created the calf as a replacement. That'll mean then on your dashboard, it will come up as an action to be sent to CTS as an attention. So then you can do the birth, movements, and deaths. It will move the cow out of the dry group into the fresh calf group. And if you're linked with an udder parlour feeding system or a milking parlour, it will then automatically start the feed calculation. So just from doing that, those 2 lines of information, there's a lot of things happening. And then obviously if you milk record, the export file will go across, or if it's NMR, it'll go across on the real-time data link, because we set that to go daily. So data entry is really, really super important, because that's quite important. Okay, we're going to go across now to a health event. If I just go back to my dashboard, so I look over here, you'll see we have 26 tasks due to do. The red bit there, that's telling me that 18 of them are overdue. So I go across to batch entry. Okay, and what I'm going to put in now is a health event, because what we set up on this farm is we have a routine that when cows go over 100 days in milk, they're scheduled for a foot trim. So I can see what's due to happen on my dashboard. So what I'm going to show you now is how you can enter it as a batch entry, as opposed to going through each cow individually. So health batch entry. Okay, we come to this screen. We're going to cover this in more detail when we do the treatment plans. We'll show you how to set that up, because if a cow goes onto the treatment plan, the animals will then automatically appear, and you actually have to say, yes, I've done the treatment. But this one is inserting a newer health event or a treatment. Well, I don't want my young stock, I don't want male, so I go to next. If I use a quick input, I can actually select this action scheduler, which is the foot trim. So that will automatically show me all the cows that should be on there. So there they are. So these are all the cows scheduled for a foot treatment. Okay, I've been super busy. I've only managed to get half of them done. So select the cows that you did do. Okay, we then go to next. What was it, a health event or a treatment? Well, if it's a foot trim, it's a treatment. If it was foul on the foot, that would be a health event, which may well require a treatment. But this is just a routine treatment. So I select next. Because we set it up, the program knows that the cow is on the list because she's due to have a foot trim. So it will automatically then come up with the treatment. There's no medicine involved in this case, so I can just hit finish. Okay, and that's 6 cows now taken off my list, and they've been entered correctly. If I go back to my dashboard now, the dashboard is now reloading, and you'll then see that will then change. So my tasks have just dropped from 26 down to 20, and only 12 of which are overdue. So I did get a question. Somebody was just asking about how we're able to create different codes if we have reasons that cows died. This will always be generally in daily tasks. So daily tasks is where we can create our medicines, but we also have a section called movement codes. So in here, you can put in the reason that you purchased cows, the reason that animals perhaps were sold. So you can always add to this list. This isn't preset. And then reason those animals died. So again, you would just go into here, create and edit, create new, sorry, or edit an existing one to give it a better name. And that's where your reasons will appear. Okay. It's coming to me left, right, center. Somebody's just asked me the question, when you put it in, if you've made a mistake, how can you fix it? So I'll just take that question first, and then I'll come back again. So, right, we put the calving in, and the calving was for 969, but we got it completely wrong. We got the wrong cow, we put the wrong calf in, or whatever it happens to be. How do we fix that? So, go to the cow records. So, we're going to select, because it's already gone through now, we've already set it. So 969, I can see she's fresh now. If I want to change that, if I want to delete the whole thing and re-enter it, if I go to reproduction, there's my calving. If I go to edit, I could then correct the date. I could take out the fact, was there a problem or anything, or I can just go to delete calving, delete calves 2. So that will then get completely rid of that animal whose ear tag was 200,004. And that's it done. So she's now dry, and I can then re-enter the calving again. Similarly, if I have a look at cow number 3185, this is the service that we put in. I put the wrong bull in. If I go to edit, I can select the correct bull. It should have been that bull, and say OK. So you can always go back and change things at a later date. That's really important. Sorry, next question.
I am highlighting a twinned cow. I'm recording it as a comment, but still seem to miss them.
Ooh, good question. What a good question. Okay, if you go into action lists, there's a setting here that's quite important. If you go to properties and you go to here, settings, add last comment from reproduction events. When we covered general settings last week, I said that you should always tick the box that says add reproduction comments. I think that's really important. When you PD the cow, what you're able to do is, if you type in here that she had twins, that will then come up on the reports. If you calve the cow down, you can put in, obviously you can see she had 2 calves, plus you can put in a comment twins. So that will then appear on the action list. So when the cow's due to come bulling, you can see it. So just remember that one there, that's important. And I'm gonna set that to appear on the dashboard. What you could also do is use a cow color. So if you haven't put a cow color on her when she was PD'd, because perhaps you didn't know that she had twins, when she's calved, you could create a cow color, put that in as a health condition. I'll just show you quickly how to do that. And then that cow will appear like a little marker pens on it. So when she's on the report, the cow's due to come bulling, or maybe she's on the vet checklist, you'll be able to see what's going on. So the description is twins, category, it's going to be relevant, obviously, to fertility. Okay, go to a color, show color, select the color. So just be consistent. You can have 2 colors on it, on a cow, but if you do, it'll go silver. So red, I think, is a good one for twins. So we create that, we carve the cow, then put a cow color on her using the health condition, and then on the reports, you'll be able to see quite clearly that she's had twins. Okay.
How do I record PD positive to a previous service, not the last service?
Oh, good question. Good question. You will actually get the option to say which one did she hold to. But if I go to, who's the cow that I PD'd? So I'll go to reproduction, if she's had more than one. Okay, you see there, PD positive. I can actually edit it to say which one she held to. So in there, I can select that's the one that she held to. Yeah, away you go. So you've got the option to edit it and say she was served afterwards, but this is the one that she actually held to. Okay. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks to people that have held on and still asking questions.